question for you now, though, mate.
Let's go.
So this week we have seen, or over the last week and a half, we have seen pretty much, and I'm not going to pretend I understand crypto or Bitcoin here, but we've seen one of the bigger market players in the whole, crypto Bitcoin space, pretty much go from billions to bankruptcy in the blink of an eye. And this company being FTX is also one of Mercedes, pretty decent sponsors. Like they've got quite good, albeit not, title branding on the car. It's a company that's been backed in Super Bowl commercials by Tom Brady. It's Steph Curry was the main sponsor of the Miami Grand Prix this year. It's got sponsorship naming rights on it. And then it's spent crazy money in esports as well. And realistically, they've gone from, being a name that came out of nowhere and, he's on a Formula One car to nothing. What do you think about when it comes to sponsorship and the role of sponsorship in the motorsport landscape? Like, is there a cause for concern with, Formula One teams taking on sponsors from, so let's say all these crypto companies that 9 of the 10 teams have partnerships with? And then is there a moral or sort of moral dilemma if the sponsor itself seems to be going under and is taking a lot of customer actual customer invested money due to negligence and being somewhat what's the word I'm looking for, corrupt in its dealings as well?
Well, firstly, kudos to Mercedes for removing FTX as a sponsor, which only happened, I think, last week, which is a pretty good thing for them. And they're one of the teams that can probably cut a sponsor. They don't need the money, but yeah. In terms of the ethics of all these kinds of sponsors, look, that's a tough question. That's motorsport, as we know, is expensive, especially Formula One that is traveling all around the world. What did we say? 22 races this year. So they've been to 22 different destinations, moving a whole heap of, your motorhomes and your cars and hospitality suites and all that sort of stuff. So it is very expensive. If the companies are willing to pay the teams, they're going to take the money. And I understand what you're saying, for customers, like for us as
I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't agree or disagree, but I think it is a question that is worth discussing, because realistically you are putting a company out there that without doing any due diligence into the actual background of the company, and if you are then putting it forward and sort of what you're doing is offering it legitimacy, which then your own fans could hypothetically invest in a company that is pretty much stealing money from its customer base in some kind of scheme, which is sort of these ideas that have been leveled against FTX.
You kind of hear it. Yeah. You hear it about all of them.
Yeah, 100. Crypto is not really, it's not regulated, and that's what they say is sort of like the draw card to it. But like we have regulation on betting companies, on alcohol. Like Formula One itself has a major sponsor, which is Aramco, which is a massive oil company. At the same time, they're saying they want to be running on clean fuel by 2026 or whatever it is. So it's always going to be contagious, because as a circus and as a sport, you're always looking to find more money to then spend it making the product better. But we've seen before, teams not able to run alcoholic sponsors in certain countries. We had the whole Rich Energy kind of debacle with Haas not too long ago either. And for me, I'm of the mindset that as long as you can market the sponsor to the younger generation of people watching your show, like kids are watching it, so you can't put porn on the cars or anything like that. Although we've seen a few things in the past, but like realistically, as long as it's respectful and somewhat classy, I'm open season for sponsors. Like, take what you can get for me. Like that's my kind of mantra, because I know that motorsport is ridiculously expensive, but for the everyday Joe, maybe they don't know that, or maybe they just don't understand how expensive it is.
Yeah, I
And
guess. I guess it's hard because you and I, before we blindly looked at it, invested in something, we'd do our research, and that's not the case for everyone, right? So
no.
yeah, I guess morally, these F1 teams are parading these companies around. Like, I was just looking, McLaren has 2 crypto sponsors on their car. Ferrari has 1, Red Bull has 1, Mercedes had 1. Alfa Romeo's got 1, Alpine, Alpha Tauri, Aston Martin. The only 2, and now they're saying Haas. I don't know if anything's changed since this article, because you're saying Williams is the only team not to.
Well, Haas has just signed one in the last couple of weeks for next year.
Okay.
So Williams is the only one that doesn't have one, and Williams could be the fact that they're shit. Like, that's probably could be the only reason why they haven't got one.
Well, they haven't got a lot of sponsorships, full stop, right?
That's right. So, but like for me, the mid-table teams, I can see why they would have them on there more so than the big teams. And I'm not here to I'm not a crypto hater. I'm happy to see them, all be on there. Like, I thought it was somewhat funny that once one jumped on, they all jumped on. It was like a fad thing, but it does lend legitimacy to sponsors when they're on a Formula One car. It's just, you don't expect companies that are so sort of attuned to like the risk. Like, there's so much risk in crypto. It's pretty much just playing. It's like it's pretty much like gambling in terms of like how volatile it is, and then it's being paraded on a Formula One car. So like, even the teams, depending on if they pay money up front or they're paying it in installments, like the sponsors themselves, the teams can also be at a problem, because say another one of these companies goes under, are you left high and dry with certain money, sort of like what the Rich Energy thing happened. So it's a very interesting dilemma and problem to have for not even just Formula One, just for all sports. If you're relying on money from such a volatile source, it's not like a bricks and mortar company. It's not an alcoholic beverage company. It's Bitcoin and the blockchain, which 99% of the world doesn't understand about anyway, even if they're getting involved in it.
Yeah, and I think drawing the comparison with the Rich Energy thing, once he pulled out, they were left with massive amounts of money owed and all that kind of stuff. And it'd be interesting to know, and obviously we probably won't know, the percentage of what, if the teams have actually been paid for their sponsorship deals from these companies. Looking at Ferraris, like Ferraris is a pretty prominent one. Like, it's Velas, and I think pretty sure that's on the back of the wing or something. Like, it's a pretty prominent sponsor. A lot of the other ones just have little. Yeah.
And Ferrari's car is very, very, very clean, so you see it even more. Like, they've got few sponsors, but they're very prominent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it is an interesting sort of problem to have. Like, if you look at a company like Red Bull before they got involved in Formula One and motorsport and extreme sports, like, that's what's lent them the legitimacy to now become one of the biggest brands in the world. And it was all through that marketing of themselves as sort of like an elite sport kind of, drink. Same thing as Monster Energy. Like, it's happened for them. So like, even like alcohols, we've seen them like in any sort of motorsport, that come in and then you build up a recognition and it really sticks with you. So the same thing definitely could happen with crypto. And for me as well, when I was looking at dabbling in crypto, I only was interested in dabbling in the brands that were on Formula One cars, because I like just subconsciously, I think these must be, super secure companies. And this has sort of been a rude awakening that, yeah, but it's crypto. That's not really the case.
Mm.
So I just wanted
Yeah.
to have your thoughts, because I thought, man, this is a good topic to have at the end of the season when there's not much going on.
Yeah. I really can't, because it is such a new thing. And Formula One did go all in at the start of the season. They started selling off NFTs, which I still don't totally understand what an NFT is. And all the teams, as we said, have got sponsorships. It's really hard for such a new sort of industry to come in with all this money and for us to actually know what they do. Do you know what I mean? Like, have you ever seen a Rich Energy can?
I have, because in real life I haven't. But I know that the company still exists because I've seen them sponsoring other stuff in British Superbikes, and they, especially in England, they seem to be a real thing, and they still exist. So, but having said that, there was also a moment this year when that story guy was talking about them pulling their funding for the British Superbikes team, and then the actual company had to come out and say whatever he says, like I had to make an official announcement saying like what he says is bullshit. And we're honoring our sponsorships till the end of the year. So like stuff like that is somewhat humorous still and hilarious.
Yeah, it's really difficult to wrap my head around all these deals that these Formula One teams do, because you just don't you don't know the inner workings of the deals. You don't know, the background. Like, who's to say that the teams really care? Like, they just want the money. Like, at the end of the day,
I was like, I don't expect them to care. Like, really, I don't think it's on the teams to make the policies for sponsorship. I don't know if we even need policies for sponsorship. I just think, and having said that as well, I think Formula One is in no way to make a policy on sponsorship, because when you think about the contradiction of like that they make about being super inclusive at the same time as having sponsorship from a country like Saudi Arabia, which is definitely not inclusive. And I'm not even getting political. Like, for me, it's like, all right, make it like, we know you need, like, as a sport, we need money. Just come out and say that, from the start, and everyone will understand. I don't think people need to look for politics in sport. That's my personal opinion. So just say it. But if you're going to pretend, or you're going to put policies into sport, then you have to have discernment for your sponsorship. Like, you sort of give yourself no choice. So either you have to make a decision one way or the other. So we're just going to take money because we need it to run this circus. And then we're like, all right, I understand. If it hurts my moral compass, I'll watch something else. Or we're going to run by our moral compass. Then, all right, let's get rid of the Aramco sponsorships. Let's, get out of, the countries that, in terms of how you like foresee your politics that you want to exude, get out of those countries, which you're definitely not going to do. Start monitoring sponsorship of, shady companies that you're going to put your own fans on their eyes, so then they can hypothetically go and lose money in investments that for the company that's shady. Like, these are things that if you're going to play by those rules, you then have to think about much more deeply when these problems arise.
Yeah, I've never actually thought of, and I don't know, I just see a sticker on a car and it doesn't really register anything, but I've never really thought of fans seeing a company on the side of a Formula One car and then going and throwing their money at it like a crypto. And it is, when you think of it that way, it is pretty dangerous, the amount of money that could be getting lost. Like, it's thrown me.
Think about betting companies. Like, if you just think about watching the footy on Friday, like, you are constantly getting bombarded with betting companies, and it's usually the same ones. And when you want to track a bet, there's like 4 or 5 of them in your head without even thinking about it. Same thing now with crypto. If you wanted to get into it, without even knowing about it. You know that there's crypto.com, Tezos, you can go FTX, like every one of those teams. That's 9 varieties that have invested in the sport that if you wanted to, straight away without thinking, it's there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't think about it either until now when I actually stopped and thought about it.
Yeah, that's right.
But like for me, like if you want to grandstand on policy, on politics and policies, you know, you have to then make the effort to, you know, do it on everything. It's not just give and take.
But yeah, the fact that we're going to Qatar next year, as well as Bahrain, as well as Abu Dhabi, as well as all these places, Formula One don't care. Formula One's just there. They want the money.
I don't care if they don't care. Like for me, I don't care if they don't care.
You just want consistency.
I just want consistency. If you just want to go there and they're paying you good money to do it, that's fine. Just say it. Don't pretend that, you know, you're on like when you're in Miami, you're all about, you know, liberation. And then when you go to Saudi America, you don't say jack shit. And your own drivers are then, you know, doing the protest for you, but you're sort of trying to silence them. Like that's the consistency as a sport. It has to be either brave enough to go one way or just tell us. That's my bigger point.
Yep. Yeah, mate, makes sense. And as I said, I'm not across all the intricacies of all the politics within Formula One, and we know that Formula One is a massively political sport. But it is an interesting thought, definitely, because there's a lot of them out there now, and now that they're starting to collapse, I think we could see something come from this. So interesting.
It could be interesting. I think Formula One is of the mindset that if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense. And I'm happy for them to be of that mindset. Just tell us, you know?
100%. And Liberty Media is all about the money, so that's fine. I think we've just got to read between the lines. But
100%.
I think we'll leave it there, mate.
I think
everyone,
so.
Thanks for listening. We will be back in the next couple of weeks for a end of year wrap. We'll also have the final race of the supercars to review, which is in Adelaide.
Can't wait.
So yeah, two more episodes for 2022 before a banging new season starts in 2023. We'll do it, as I said, we'll do a full-on review like we did last year of our favorite moments of the season, favorite helmets, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and see out the supercar season. But Joey, mate, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you very much, mate. Always a pleasure.
And everyone, keep liking, subscribing. You know, the YouTube views are going up, which is great to see. Joey's starting to break the videos up in really small chunks, which is awesome. But yeah, like, subscribe, give us a shout out, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, thanks for listening. See you guys.
See you guys. Have a good week.